The cheating thing is one of the biggest objections to AI that I see on the internet and particularly on Twitter. And there's a few of them that come up frequently that I want to get into with you. But cheating is one of the big ones. And people feel like the explosion of AI is just degrading from the quality of a classroom education because it's so easy for kids to go look up answers to things and to cheat. And it's making it harder and harder to maintain integrity in assignments and grading set assignments, because sometimes you can't even tell if something was written by ChatGPT or if it was written by a student. And people are really cynical about AI because of that. And I'm curious what your take is.
I think that that's happening. So the first thing is to say that this is not a fake concern. This is not like a bunch of people sitting in a room imagining what might happen with AI. This is 100% happening. Something like, I can't remember when it was, like 9 months ago, 12 months ago, the company that I helped found and still help out with a lot, Guidepost Montessori, started to see its first AI-generated written interview question responses. So people that were applying to jobs, they get past the first interview, you submit a video sample of your teaching, we might ask you to like submit a sample lesson plan or something, and we were getting very clearly AI-generated answers to those lesson plans that, we can talk about that. You could even say, like, what's wrong with that? Like, teachers can use AI to generate lesson plans, but we started seeing that like 100% people are using Claude and ChatGPT and who knows what else on their college essays, on their classroom assignments, and it is, I don't teach at the university level anymore, but if I did, I would probably be varying the assignment structure to make that maybe not impossible, but to make it so that when it happened, when it could happen, it was like part of a structure that I was comfortable with. So yeah, I think that like 100% is happening.
I think it's obvious if you talk to teenagers that it's happening just by the way in which they talk about trying to hack assignments and make them easier and figure out efficient shortcuts to getting their work done. Like, of course it's happening. It's in their nature to do so. I think in my mind, the question isn't so much, is it happening? The question is, one, how bad of a thing is it? And two, what do you do about it? Because we live in a world where AI now exists. It's infiltrating everything. It's not going anywhere. You can make all the rules you want about AI not being allowed in your classrooms. Kids are going to use it anyway. You can make all the rules you want around how assignments are structured to try to mitigate the possibility for cheating, including things like having kids write essays inside the classroom or something where they're supervised and it's harder for them to go on ChatGPT and have AI write it for them. And I think the question is less, is it happening, and more like, what is the right approach to handling it? Is the best approach to mitigate the usage of it? Or are we thinking about the question too much through the lens of, well, this is what we've always done, and so we have to keep doing it and figure out how to keep AI from infiltrating what we've already done or always done, versus thinking about how to use AI constructively?
So let me answer this question in two parts. So part one is a little bit cynical. So the cynical, I don't know, cynical is the right word. We have an education system that, in my opinion, is not great, and is especially not great with respect to writing related subjects. So that includes writing, like, which I think of is properly thought of as composition. And that also includes literature and history and, like topics that English, social studies, like things that you would have to write essays for. In college, that's a lot more things, like philosophy classes, psychology classes. Well, maybe not in psychology classes as much, but all the humanistic subjects. I don't think that the education in these domains is that high quality in general. And I don't think that students are learning how to write that well in it. So if you totally take away AI, if you kind of rewound the clock two full years to the day before ChatGPT was launched. I don't know if that was literally the day before. I think it launched in November of 2022. If you like, the state of things was awful. The state of things is most students learn to write very hackneyed 5-paragraph essays that nobody else reads, and that kind of writing practice that you get in school is completely separate from any kind of writing that you would do in real life, like emails to friends or text messages or things that you would write on a blog or something like that. Like all of that is extra academic. And most students don't even understand why they're in school or taking these subjects. A lot of people who are in college don't understand why they're in college or why there are kind of required classes, and they just want to get them out of the way. And so you have a lot of low motivation students who are already pretty cynical about the system being forced, with more or less coercive power, depending on exactly where they are in their education, to write things that they don't want to write and that they don't understand why to write. So that was and it doesn't really work that well. It's not like colleges weren't producing fantastic writers. Like, I mean, people have been lamenting this for years, the decreasing quality and kind of literacy and compositional capacity of Americans.
As someone who hires writers, good writers are very hard to find.
Yeah. So into that system, you inject ChatGPT. What are students going to do? They're going to use it to not do the stuff that they don't want to do. How bad is that? I don't think it's great. I mean, but I don't think it's like the primary problem to think about. It's bad for your soul to cheat. So if you're a student and you're listening to this, don't cheat. Like, it doesn't really matter that much what grade you get at the end of the day. It's just saving you a little bit of time, and like you should think about other ways around this problem. This deception is not good. It's also not good to get less writing practice. I think writing is a really valuable skill, and I do think that it should be part of general education. I think that people should learn it. I think that it should be motivated and contextualized and taught properly, and that our expectation is that the average person should be quite a good writer. That if you have that capacity, you've been given a power tool in life that's going to carry you very far. And if you don't have that capacity, like, you're really missing out on something great. Students weren't really developing that prior to large language models, and now they're probably developing it less.
Can we go down that rabbit hole for a second? Because this
Sure.
is interesting. And I'm inclined to agree with you. Being able to write relatively well and express my thoughts clearly has been extremely important to my intellectual and professional development and my development as a person. And I'm a very big advocate for both reading good writing and also learning how to write well. So I agree with you about the importance of it. I think it is something that is a shame we have lost. But clearly this was a problem long before ChatGPT entered from stage left. This already existed. It was already problematic. We already were doing a terrible job teaching kids to write. Why are we so bad at this? What's missing?
There's 3 or 4 things that I could say. I mean, there's a lot of things bad about our approach. I'm just going to kind of hit you with a shotgun blast of things that are bad. One is, I don't think that we're that good at core literacy.
Mm-mm.
And we're not that good at getting students interested in quality literature. So if you just kind of look at the early parts of education, like, how do we teach children to read? How do we teach children to relate to texts? What are the quality of texts that we're relating them to? How good are we at getting them to relate to very high quality texts, both fiction and nonfiction, in the context of classes like English and history, poetry, things like that? I mean, we're mostly worse at doing those things. We're actually better at teaching literacy than we used to be, core literacy, than we were, say, I don't know, 150 years ago. But for most of those other things, we're worse at it. I think we've kind of lost ambition around making students who are exceptional readers connected to kind of cultural works of high quality. So, I mean, just taking that away, like you've taken away a lot of the raw material out of which a good writer is made. Second, most of what you do in school writing is completely artificial. The audience is the teacher. You are not writing an essay, you are cosplaying writing an essay in order to get a grade. And that has, like, I've given assignments like that, you know. I was a college professor. I've taught in a variety of contexts at various levels. But having that be the focus, a kind of artificial process for like most of the serious writing that you do for years and years and years and years, and having that embedded in a context that like students are often very alienated from, you know, even if they're not actively alienated from it, like I hate school, it's just like they're playing the school game, like writing is part of the school game. Like that's not a good way to learn how to do something very authentically. The third thing is people are going to disagree with me about this one, but I think it's true. I think learning some of the building blocks that you need to be a good writer include things like the formal study of grammar. You don't need it. This is why people are going to object. Like, I know all sorts of other, like, I'm a good writer and I've never taken grammar in my life. You just pick up the grammar of your language naturally. Like, and there's something to those arguments. But I think having it as a component of education is one of these power tools that allows you to kind of take more conscious command of what you're writing and what you're reading in some cases when it's complicated. And to express yourself more clearly. So I think that's another piece there. I mean, there are a million things like this, where it's like we've kind of neutered writing. And yeah, I mean, more than anything that I've said, I think the fact that students are in school for, you know, between the ages of 5 and 22 and have school is pretty disconnected from life, and students don't really, they're kind of going through the motions and they understand that there's something fake about it. That is the biggest problem. I mean, that kind of underlies all the other problems.